This conversation is
in partnership.
is the COVID-19 conversations that we started between AfroSavvy in partnership with
Global Mind Shift.
So
welcome back to our Insta Live, AfroSavvy Insta Live conversations on the coronavirus from an African Indigenous perspective. Wonderful, thank you. Welcome, Kulu Oscar. Thank you for joining us. We will bring you in a minute. So we have just been working on trying to get everybody on board. Thank you so much for joining us. And today I've brought Gogo Simenjalo to join me because yesterday she was she was in the room and then she became a part of the live. So I just figured it's might as well just bring her in and we have this conversation together, because also the topic of conversation is very healer centric, and I myself am not a Sangoma, but my mother is a Sangoma, so these crucial issues are very much I think things that she will have a broader and a better perspective than I will, and she'd have more insight because it is things that relate to her and affect her directly as well as a traditional healer. So welcome to our AfroSavvy. So she's joining us for COVID Lives. This is the first COVID Live.
Thank you. Welcome everybody. Thank you for having me.
Yay! So we're going to start with Nkulu Oscar.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. If you could please, Nkulu, if you could start by introducing yourself, give us a bit of insight on who you are, what it is you do, and how you came to be part of the Vuka Mngoma campaign.
All right. Very briefly, my name is Oscar. My surname is Esby. Ngcuka. We have to include the Ngcuka because that's my biological surname. I was born and bred in Port Elizabeth, finished my matric somewhere in the Free State, and around about 96, the calling came, it set in, and since then it's on the journey. Upon this journey, one then realized that there are a lot of hiccups, both within our sector, in other words, amongst ourselves. Of course, these things are worrisome. It's like they say, many are called, few are chosen. And it will always be the chosen few that shall always remain concerned regarding the calling, because the calling is something sacred. It has to be respected. Yes, I agree, we are all human and we have our mistakes and we err. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean we have to leave things rotting and, through corruption. So basically what I'm saying is I am part of a few concerned healers within the province, within the country, that strongly feels that 25 years down the line, post-apartheid, we are still not recognized as the sector. We play an enormous role in the community, in our society. We are not recognized. We are treated like stepchildren. And of course, there are government officials, whose hand are, within the pot. You know what I'm saying? If I can call it that. We're not giving up. We have to fight. It is time that we realize, or that government starts realizing, yes, we appreciate the Western medical services. We're very much appreciative of it. And I think it needs to be said that we all need each other. There is no system that is better than the other. The Western scientists, and please underline the word Western scientists, I'm using that intentionally, because Africans are scientists in our own right, within our own ambit. So I'm making a point to say that the Western scientists have done a great job so far. However, if you look around, there is a great need for our sector, for our medical system, for our traditional medical system to start also coming on board and playing its part within the community. However, the challenge that we have is that government is not facilitating. Government is not enabling us to do so. Hence, you then find an enormous gap for these bogus traditional health practitioners coming up. They are booming like mushrooms. and they are obviously taking our whole sector into disrepute through these things that they are doing. And I'm saying there's still a lot of us who understand what traditional healing is. There's a lot of us who were blessed enough by our forebears, our older parents, who have taught us, you know, the intricacies of what traditional healing is. So in essence, what I'm saying, as government, as our sector, we need to reach a level and a point where we acknowledge that we need each other. Government has got the abilities, government has got the means to enable our sector to do better. Yes, I am recognizing and acknowledging a lot still needs to be done. Of course, you would notice nowadays we have younger and younger people who come into the calling. There's a reason for that. Nowadays we are dealing with technology. All I need and all I ask, in fact, all we ask is that allow us the opportunity, avail to us, you know, the platforms, allow us to use the technology so that we can tap into our sector and bring about the difference. I don't think that in 2020, we will still heal people the same way it was done in 1816, but the essence can still remain the same, because ultimately the point is healing the patient. However, we need to tread carefully and be extremely cautious not to take our indigenous systems of healing and turn them into the Western side of things. We need to be very careful in that one. I am saying it is quite possible for a PhD holding, you know, traditional healer to still be able to practice traditional healing indigenously, like in the olden ways. You can do it. You can do it via technology. You know, anything is possible nowadays. We can do anything. For us, we just need to make sure that we sort of retain or maintain our indigenous systems of doing things. And it's nothing difficult. It's a doable thing. We can do it. I mean, I am one of the healers who can diagnose and consult a person via Skype, via Instagram, or telephonically. I'm trying to say those things are possible. We must just know where and how to draw the line.
So, Mkulu, you started with bringing up that you said you are one of the few sangomas or few healers in this time who are still concerned about preserving the practice of traditional or indigenous healing. I just want to,
Yes.
I'm just going to also bring up the fact that there actually are a lot of us, because I am one of them. I think that is why we also have this platform. There are a lot of us.
Correct.
But maybe the challenge would be that we do not know. I think we can all make a difference in our spheres, in our sectors, in our spaces. And a lot of us do not know how to make a difference in the space of government, because this is what we're talking about, in the government space, because in the government space there are what you call red tape. There are also policies and ways in which the government works.
Yes.
Whatever that we whatever change that we're looking to bring should be in line with how the government works. So it's a lot of changes to actually make sure that we are recognized, like you say, that so that we are no longer the stepchildren that we've always been viewed as. We want to also be the firstborn. We want to be part of the family. So
correct.
So how would you say that Vuka Mngoma is wanting to approach the government in making sure that we are included in the space as children, not as stepchildren?
Correct. To answer your question, actually as part of the family, you know, is what we're saying. And yes, you are correct in saying that there are many of us. It's just that the space and the way, the layout doesn't really allow for us to interact. Now, that is exactly one of the things that Vuka Mngoma is trying to exploit. We are trying to exploit those kind of things in a sense that we now want to unite all THPs. We want transparency. I'm sure you're aware that you would find that there has been a meeting 2 weeks ago, a month ago, 3 months ago, and you're not aware of it. Okay. You'll also find that we've got leaders in place, that we are not aware of, and many of us have never voted for them. And trust me, I am one of those leaders who was deployed into a position that I'm currently in as HIV/AIDS, and if you really sit and you study how all of these things came about, it's not ideal. So in terms of responding to a question, I'm saying, as Vuka Mngoma, as the entire sector, as concerned healers, we are saying opportunities are there. We have engaged government. We didn't start yesterday or last month. We've been engaging government. The problem that we have, when government responds, government that does not respond in a collective fashion. There is a tendency amongst government officials, junior or senior, right, whereby they would have their own few hand-picked people that they want to deal with. And for us, that is a concern. I can make you a simple example. We were called on the 4th of May by the MEC of Health in Gauteng, and a few leaders, district leaders from a sector called ATM, right? Or let me call it a division within the sector, African Traditional Medicine. And we were there, and all the MECs said, yes, he recognizes that there should be many leaders, and unfortunately he didn't get the time to get through all of them, but he's requesting us to then take this thing further, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately the point I'm getting at, a coordinating committee was then established. On that coordinating committee, I kept on raising the fact that, guys, we should not continue doing our job if the complete leadership of this province is not there. Should we not then use that as a point of departure, as a starting point, to make means to get everybody on board? And you're not going to believe me, that ended up portraying me as a troublemaker, as a rebel. And ultimately, I got expelled from that body. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So I'm trying to highlight a point that says there are some of us as practitioners who are also sort of condoning the behavior of government officials in as far as hand-picked persons are concerned. It is a tendency that is very serious and it is threatening to our sector. It needs to be dealt with. Vuka Mngoma is there. We are trying to raise our voices, but we have to be honest about it and say, we are not getting the positive response that we are expecting from government officials. We have a strategy in place now, right, as another option.
May I ask, please?
Whereby we now want to engage.
I'm going to ask.
Come again?
May I just come in there? That would it be because, okay, first off, I would like to know how you got invited into that meeting with the MEC. How did the invite come to you? Okay, as an individual, because you're invited as yourself, not as a representative of any organization, right? So how were you picked to be part of the team that gets to meet with the MEC? That is one. And two, could it be that also the government because the government has no ways or there's no structure of Abangoma that they know of to go to actually approach healers to be a part of a committee? Because I know what you're talking about is the COVID-19 pandemic response, the government response to the pandemic. And it was also, I'm going to say that it may have been because we had been overlooked and because of the noise that we started making as healers because of the fact that we had been overlooked. The government had to now respond quickly to that situation. So it was a crisis kind of time, and the way that the committee or the team that got invited was kind of haphazard. Could it be because of the situation that we are in as Mangoma, the fact that we do not have a body of ourselves? And how then would you propose that we go forward in presenting the case to the MEC or to the Department of Health about the case for the inclusion of Abangoma in this space. And also to note that this is not the first pandemic. It's not going to be the last one. So that we need to actually form relations with the Department of Health, so that when this comes up again or something similar comes up again, there is a structure that is there that they can actually work with.
All right. Let me try and summarize a response to you. I think we need to start here. I believe that when we address issues, we have to be, number one, open and frank about them. Okay? So the interview or the invitation to the MEC's meeting, it came via a phone call very early in the morning, 6 o'clock. Now, I do not want to say that government does not know how and where to get a hold of us. Government does know. There have been many leadership structures, irrespective of how they were formulated, but there have been. All right? I am not taking away the fact that we as leaders or as practitioners in the sector also have a responsibility, right, to unify ourselves and work together. I don't take that away. However, I have to mention with capital letters, with high emphasis, government officials are highly to be blamed when it comes to us being disintegrated, when it comes to us not being in unison. Do you understand what I'm saying? We have to be honest about that one. We should not sugarcoat it. That is a fact. Remember, like I've said earlier, we have been engaging government for many years. I can, for instance, tell you that the ATM structure that I'm referring to has been in existence for the past 14 years. Okay, it was launched by an MEC of that period. That structure was never funded. That structure never had a program, right? Remember, ATM is the one structure where all THPs are supposed to belong to. That is the one structure that should be able to have a program that sort of accommodates us and our needs as THPs. But I'm saying to you, as a matter of fact, 14 years back until current, there is no program, there is no documented program for us in that structure or that speaks to that structure 14 years down the line. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's not a single cent that government has taken out to fund that structure in terms of stabilizing it, resourcing it, you know, for programs to develop the individual THP, programs to develop the sector, programs for us to be able to design our own education, development, and training. I'm trying to say to you, it's been a structure, just in name. Nothing has been happening. So it is not correct to say government did not know or government does not know. No, it's not correct. We need not to shy away from the fact that if government was serious, this structure, 25 years into democracy, we could have been far. Whatever mistakes that we are identifying amongst the THPs individually, right? It's because they were disabled from taking whatever skills. You need to understand, as you and I are sitting here, you are a psychologist, you're a teacher, you're a medical doctor, you know, you are everything in society. So all of these skills that I am mentioning that you and I might be possessing, if not enabled, if not given an environment that is savvy enough for you and I to be able to develop and take our skills and implement in society, they are meaningless. That's the point that I'm making here. It's meaningless. And we also need to be cognizant of the fact that not all THPs are successful THPs. You might have a calling and you might have a lot of spiritual impediments on your calling. Government doesn't know these things. You and I can relate to those things. Hence, I speak of enablement. Do you understand what I'm saying? All government needs to do is just to enable us. All they need to do is just to sit down and listen to what it is that we have to say, right? I keep hammering on the point that Togos,
I want to come back.
can I continue?
Togos, okay. I hear you. I hear you very well. That you are speaking about the government role, but also there is nothing that we can do about the government role as individuals, and there is nothing that the government can do for us if we are not doing it for ourselves. I think that's where I want to come in. I want us. My blame, I think, I place squarely on Bangoma or healers for failing to work as a unit. We need to create a structure. As it is, I'm a healer. I've been a healer now for just over a year. And I do not belong to any organization of healers. That is why I'm really excited about Vuka Mngoma, because it's at this point Vuka Mngoma has the potential to change even the structures that are existing, that I have been failing to be a part of because of whatever reason. But those structures as well are not functioning properly, or are not, like you say, they are there. The government could have actually really just gone and approached them to find, to speak to healers, but they're not representative of all of us. So, because of whatever reason. So what we actually do need is a way forward, to craft a way forward which will include a whole lot of traditional healers, because most of our issues are the same. We're speaking about funding. Look at this pandemic, for instance. We all could not work. So the things that affect us will affect us in the same way. So no one works. Everybody is locked away. There's healers who have amatwas that they don't know what to do with. And we don't have access to things that we actually need to be able to do what we do. But besides access, even if you had access, if we're locked in, we're locked in. So our issues are the same. So we should be able to speak in a collective voice. So first of all, we need to be able to get on ourselves. Two, we need to mobilize ourselves into and form a structure. So what I would like to ask of Vuka Mngoma going forward, because I'm new, I'm just at this point just excited at the prospect because of the work that you have done previously as Vuka Mngoma. And so I see the potential that Vuka Mngoma actually would have, because it does not require me to join any kind of organization. So I love that about it. But we need to come together and know what it is that Vuka Mngoma now actually plans, or the people that are leading Vuka Mngoma, the campaign. Let us know what it is that Vuka Mngoma is planning in terms of giving us a voice, or creating a voice for us to speak to the structures that hold the reins to our progress, because we can't be talking about the same things. Like you say, 25 years later, we're talking about the same things. There needs to be some kind of progress. There are people like you who are educated. There are platforms such as this one that we can use. We have social media. We need to mobilize and get together and be able to speak, and to get ourselves to get on, first of all, with each other, so that we speak from one voice. So what was it?
Okay.
Yes, and also
all right. What I'm going to tell you is the following. And I need to be clear. It's imperative that I'm clear. I am not squarely putting all blame on government. If you recall, I had said, of course, we also have a big portion whereby we need to be taking that responsibility. However, I have to be absolutely clear, and I'm going to repeat myself here. I do not care how united we can be as a sector. Ultimately, we are under the law. And this law, government is at the forefront of creating this law. Let me make you a simple example so that I perhaps can become more clearer to you. You and I are THPs. We are told that there is an Act number 22 of 2007. If you look at that Act and if you study that Act, you will see that there is a myriad of loopholes in that Act. That Act on its own does not allow me and you to become what we are. In other words, the act does not enable us. Why am I saying that the act does not enable us? That act is created upon a million other acts that exist in South Africa that are still prohibiting me and you from existing. I'm not sure whether you follow me on that one. I am then saying these are the elements, these are the factors of enabling that government needs to be looking at, and government needs to acknowledge, recognize, deal with them, and get them out of our way. You see, whatever disintegration that you find within our sector today is brought about by the frustration that these individual practitioners are experiencing. So we end up fighting one another. We end up creating leadership structures incoherently. Why? It's frustration. We as a Vuka Mngoma have got a clear-cut vision that says, in all of the plans that we have, government, you are our government of the day. In order for our plans to be able to be implemented, we need for you to come to the party and create an atmosphere that will enable our skills, to then become beneficial to society and to us as practitioners. So I unfortunately, to the mainstream, yes. And unfortunately, Gogo, you must forgive me in me hammering on this issue of government being the biggest impediment to the sector's progress and advancement. That is a fact. It's the truth. We can't hide and run away from it. For me, I feel as if we are in a struggle beyond a struggle. We first had to fight the apartheid laws. Now that we've gotten this so-called freedom, within this freedom, we are still suffering the same discrimination that the entire world back then suffered. Because why would you then say to me, I am free as a black South African, and yet you are not allowing me to live by my identity? I am an African, but I find myself living under Roman Dutch laws. Roman Dutch laws which do not acknowledge, recognize me as an indigenous African person. I find myself being forced to accept a lot of things. The only way for me to be heard as a THP in South Africa is when I am techno-savvy, is when I speak English. Do you know what I'm saying? We do not have laws in this country that recognizes me and you. The issue of mental health, yes, I salute my colleagues as in the science fields, but there are issues beyond their academic knowledge, but issues that you and I can easily relate to and easily define and easily solve as indigenous persons in terms of mental health. Because to me and you, mental health comes from various pointers. It speaks to somebody's culture. It speaks to somebody's identity. It speaks to somebody's traditions, So there are a lot of factors that we know that calculate and total into what you and I, or what a Western person would call mental health. So I'm trying to say, we need an opportunity. We need a platform. Vuka Mngoma is willing. Vuka Mngoma has been knocking on government doors. If they don't open those doors, trust me, all of these brilliant ideas and strategies that we have are going to be futile, because ultimately we live in a country that is governed by law. And we as THPs are people who respect the law. That is why we keep going back to the government, because it is government's laws that seems to be an obstacle to our sector.
It really is up to us also because we have to work within the law, in the confines of that law. Like we say, we
Correct.
have brilliant sangomas who have legal backgrounds, for instance. So it's things that we need to be able to we need to find ways in which we will be heard in that current status as it stands, because there's no way that we are going to now, for instance, we're going to go and fight this big organization that is government as we stand.
Hello.
So we need to be able to find ways in which we can make a difference, gaiety amongst ourselves before we can actually get to the government. It's not going to happen with us fighting amongst each other. That is the one thing that is for sure. Because also, if, like you say, if the government is adamant on keeping us as stepchildren, then that us fighting amongst ourselves, they will actually be able to use against us. So for us to be able to make a difference, for us to be able to make the difference that we want, for us, not only us, for the future generation healers, we need to be able to find ways in which we get on so that we're not used against each other. I think that is the most critical thing that I am learning from this.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Goodness, I think Mkhulu Mngoma is on the line, and it's time to actually bring him on. I'm hoping that we are going to have actually more of these conversations because we do need to heal our space. The space needs healing. It's very, very evident.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that we will have more of these conversations and actually look at ways in which we can actually go forward and make a difference to all of us for the sake of the future healing.
I'm losing you.
And for the sake of the people who we need to heal, who need our services. So goes ahead.
Togozan, thank you so much for the space. Thank you for the time. Yes, indeed, we need to continue these conversations.
We shall do so, sir. We shall do so. Thank you, sir.
Togos, I'm gonna end this call. Thank you. Togozani, thank you so much to Nkulu Oscar for that contribution. Thank you for your time and your wisdom. I'm going to bring in Nkulu Mngoma, who is also a member of the Vuka Mngoma campaign. Aren't you so glad that I could convince you to join us live? Can you imagine?
I don't know.
This conversation, as crucial as it is, sometimes I have moments where I feel like I'm in over my head with this one because it's not just social issues, because I broaden it and I talk about social issues, but this is so very specific. Yeah, it's very, very Vuka-centric. So there's not much of a contribution that I can make. I'm really glad that you're here. So Mkhulu, let me just say.
How are you?
We're good, thank you, Mkhulu. This conversation is
in partnership.
Is the COVID-19 conversation that we started between AfroSavvy in partnership with
Global into Mindshift.
Togozani. So this is we're looking at wrapping up. The conversation has changed over time, and we are looking at wrapping it up. So it is actually nice to actually be at a point where we are actually discussing the government response.
Yes.
I really wish that we could get to COVID-19, to the pandemic. So I really wish that we could actually have more, because the more, it would be nice to find a government official as well to give us their take and what their input and what the US government they have done in response to including traditional and indigenous healing in the space of this pandemic that we're in.
Togozan. Togozan, I'm good, Gogo, and I see I've been following all the discussions with Mkhulu Oscar, and I agree with most of the stuff that he has said. By the way, Mkhulu Mngoma, I'm also part of the Vuka Mngoma campaign, and I'm based here in the Eastern Cape, South Africa.
Thank you so much for joining us and for giving us your time. If you could please begin by giving some background on who you are, what it is that you do, and how you came to be part of the Vuka Mngoma campaign.
And also what the Vuka Mngoma campaign means to you specifically.
Togozan, as I've said, I'm Mkhulu Mngoma, also known as Mpilisi. I am based in the Eastern Cape province here in South Africa. I'm the chairperson of the Eastern Cape Traditional Health Practitioners Forum, and I'm also a traditional health practitioner and a spiritual healer at the same time. I'm part of the Vuka Mngoma campaign. I've been a member of I've been part of the campaign since 2014. And as I've said, I'm a healer in my own right. Just without wasting any of the time, I would like to go through to the issue at hand. I've heard what Umkhulu Oscar raised, but I would just like firstly to give our scenario of the Eastern Cape province when it comes to our engagement with the Provincial Department of Health when it comes to COVID-19. Well, first, let me start by saying that other provinces in the country we were very, very fortunate to having been consulted when it comes to the COVID-19, as different to our situation here in the Eastern Cape. There has been no proper engagement of traditional health practitioners and the Department of Health or government here in the Eastern Cape. Despite the fact that I am representing a forum of traditional health practitioners organizations in this province. But be that as it may, there has been no engagement whatsoever with the Department of Health or government when it comes to the pandemic here in the Eastern Cape province. The problem when it comes to that is caused mainly because I like what you said earlier on, Gogo, that the people who are to blame or when it comes to this confusion, it's us as traditional health practitioners. The situation here in the Eastern Cape is a little bit different because even though we have a problem with the government, but there are also traditional health practitioners who are fueling this mess that we are in at the moment when it comes to our engagement or relationship with the department. As I've said, there has been no engagement whatsoever as traditional health practitioners in this province. We haven't been into any meeting that has been organized by government in this province when it comes to COVID-19. So we have been overlooked in a very, very big way in this province. For an example, Umkhulu Oscar raised an important issue about a structure which is called ATM. We also once had such a particular structure in this province, which we fought very hard to ensure that it is dissolved. And the structure was dissolved. We then created a forum that was representative of all traditional health practitioners organizations in this province, because that structure was not in any way assisting us as traditional health practitioners. Now, the problem that has been created of a lack of a consultation or engagement, it has given a space to people who are scammers, to opportunistic traditional health practitioners to begin reaching out to traditional health practitioners in the province in the name of the pandemic, claiming to be representing a certain structure that exists elsewhere. These people are operating within our province and they are causing chaos when it comes to the pandemic. It's not like us, we sat down and did nothing. What we did, we wrote a number of letters to the Department of Health and to the Eastern Cape government to say, we believe that we've been overlooked when it comes to consultations of the pandemic. And unfortunately, we have not get any response, any positive response whatsoever. The efforts that we have at the moment as the province, it's efforts that we have created on our own as part of our response to the pandemic. Because we'd say, when there are no engagements, it doesn't mean that we must just sit back and fold our arms. We know that the pandemic exists and it affects all of us. Then what needed to be done as THPs is that we must create our own response to the pandemic. So we developed our own ways of dealing with the pandemic by ensuring that we consult organizations outside government to assist us by ensuring that a message is sent to all the THPs in this province about the pandemic, about what needs to be done, about the measurements that need to be followed when it comes to traditional health practitioners protecting themselves against the pandemic. So I'll say, as much as in other provinces, the problem in this space is the government. Here in the province, yes, we do have a problem with government, but also, be that as it may, we have also a serious issue of individuals. Individuals, some of them who are not even coming from the province, who are claiming to be representing traditional healers and who are accessing resources in our province in the name of traditional health practitioners, who go around in the province spreading rumors about COVID-19. For example, one of our districts or here in the province was hit hard by these scammers. I'll call them scammers, Bogogo, because that's what they do at the moment. They ran around our province claiming to be representing traditional healers, asking them to provide their name, as they claimed they were developing a data of all traditional health practitioners. They also promised traditional health practitioners that our government has made an allocation of food parcels for all THPs in the province. And they said that if people want to access that kind of service, they have to pay a certain amount to a certain bank account. And that's how most of the traditional health practitioners were scammed in the province, especially our elders. Those are the people who were scammed most. So we have a serious crisis here in the province of the Eastern Cape. That is why we then said, hey, it's high time that we strengthen the Vuka Mngoma campaign. Let's make sure that our voice is heard. Let's try by all means to engage a government and try to be radical in our approach so that our government begins to listen to us, that our government starts to recognize us as the sector that needs to be attended to as a matter of urgency. I just wanted to give this background, Bogogo, because it's what us here as healers in this part of the country. That when it comes to this problem, we as traditional healers are sitting, for example, our elders, people who are illiterate, they are sitting in their homes with no knowledge whatsoever. Nothing was communicated to them when it comes to COVID-19 and the stuff. So we have that particular problem, and we believe that our solution to this crisis is the strengthening of Vuka Mngoma as a campaign. Thokozani.
You mentioned something, the government has actually not done anything. Okay, well, I'm going to just point out a few things, that we have so many loopholes. That's why we're actually even going to be game to just scammers and things like that. So we need to identify these loopholes. And two, another thing that I want to point out is the fact that you say the government, this is what we think, that the government has not done anything and continues to actually ignore us. But maybe, just maybe, the government is actually misled, and what they are doing is they may be doing things without informing us. This is what we are trying to include you guys. And that is where I think that they will be wrong, because I'm going to comment on this the space that was created with the Department of Health in the province of Gauteng, that it's a good response. It's a response that we would applaud, because that is actually what we are crying out for. Include us, but also include us in a way that when you are including us, let us know. Use a platform that we all, and traditional healers, a lot of traditional healers will be able to tap into. That this is what we are looking to engage with you guys. This is an invitation to engage. So what they need to do, I think, is also with government, is also to just keep us informed. Because maybe in the Eastern Cape, the structure, maybe the MEC of health there also invited a few traditional healers based on getting them from wherever they got them from social media, from wherever. Maybe they also did, and they're just communicating. And then now, when you come knocking, it seems like you are just wanting to fight what they have started working on. That's all that we are looking for, is to be recognized and also to be given the information so that you are able to contribute to your welfare and the welfare of other Sangomas or other traditional healers in the space. I think that is a critical thing. It's a whole communication drive. We need to be communicating with them. They need also to be communicating with us.
Yes.
I think it's a two-way effort. So if the one is working without us and the other one is working without it meeting, then it actually is for naught. Then at the end of the day, there will be no positive results. Nothing will come out of it. That is why we're talking about things that were 25 years ago. This has been the fight, and we're still fighting about the same thing now. There needs to be a collected effort, and also we cannot have in the space. The government will only be aware of, is made aware of healers who have a huge following on social media. I think that would be another thing. That following does not necessarily make the healer a good healer, or
Yes.
also a good team player,
Correct.
player in the space of the traditional healers. Because if we are all going for is followers, and we're going for to pick up as many patients or as many clients as possible, that is a personal thing. It has nothing to do with representing the healers in society. That is personal. That is you and your following, and you and your healers. But it does not mean that you now should be representing traditional healers as a whole. Maybe you can represent your followers, but not traditional healers. I think
That's
that's
correct.
one thing that government needs to actually understand. That a huge following does not mean that you are a team player. We need doesn't qualify you to represent other healers. Maybe you can represent your clients.
Correct.
You can't represent other healers. So we need to also know what it is that qualifies a person. It should be that we have been picked by traditional healers to represent them, and not also just because of an organization. Because the organizations we're actually finding are already existing, and we have no role, we have no understanding.
So would you say there needs to be some kind of criteria that becomes a selection process, so that healers need to be vetted? You need to be vetted to a certain extent before then you're chosen to then not necessarily represent, but to be within the the list of healers that now could become an option.
It should then become a democratic
So
to become a democratic situation where we actually pick ourselves. People should actually run for the position of being a leader and a rep to whatever organization it is. Run for it should be a democratic process, I believe, so that there's none of this fighting. If we are able to choose who represents us, and they give us their reasons why they think that they are qualified to represent us, and we actually vote for that based on what they've been able to convince us that they are going to be able to do for us, then it would make sense. Thokoza Mkhulu, your contribution is that.
I think, just to write on what you have just said, another problem, Gogo, is where traditional health is placed at the moment. Because when it comes to the government sphere, you'll find out traditional health as a practice is placed within the Department of Health. And I've been having a problem with that kind of an arrangement. Because I believe what we do as traditional healers is more than just the business of healing people. We are much more rooted into our culture and custom. So I believe, for one, that we should be placed correctly. For example, if you look into the traditional leaders themselves, they have their own house within the spheres of government. You'll find out in each and every province, they've got a house of traditional leaders. And then when it comes to us, when they talk of traditional health practitioners, they always place them within the Department of Health. I think that's problematic on its own. I think moving forward, we need to fight that as a Mngoma, and try to ensure that we have our own institution within government that looks against our issues as traditional health practitioners, because you can't limit what we do to health department only, because what you do is broader than just a business of the Department of Health. So I always believe that we can do better if we place traditional healing elsewhere within government, if at all we are going to work in the mainstream of government, or if we're talking of strengthening of our relationship. We need to place it correctly. Firstly, I think once we do that, we will be able to achieve whatever that we want to achieve as healers. For now, I think it's placed wrongly at the Department of Health. There needs to be an institution that is recognized by government, which looks strictly at issues of traditional healing. It shouldn't be the issue of Department of Health alone. So that's the first thing that I think it needs to be attended to. Secondly, now, you see, what you said earlier on, Gogo, when it comes to us not united as traditional healers, is a huge problem currently. Because now, when people see that those people are not united, they'll always find a way of getting in, putting in their own interests. Because that is what is happening now at the moment. You have people, those people, they are given airtime by recognized media organizations in their country. They claim to be speaking on our behalf. They are getting resources on our behalf. They have got institutions that they've created to benefit themselves. And they created those institutions in the name of all of us as traditional health practitioners. And those people, they do so because they've seen this loophole from us as traditional health practitioners, that as healers who are not united. And then they saw that as an opportunity to enrich themselves. It's the same individuals that we have a problem with, even in this province. That because there's not that unity amongst ourselves. Yes, I said earlier on, I'm representing a forum. But also, you spoke of people who are not members of any organization. Shortly before I go live here, I received a call from one of respected traditional healers in the province, saying that what is it that is being done for those who are not members of any organization? We need also in our arrangement to ensure that we include such people in all our activities. We ensure that people who do not even have organization, they are also taken care of. And the only way of doing that, Gogo, is if we have a recognized institution that represents traditional healers, which will not be influenced by any organization of healers. That institution is going to represent all of us. Then I think that's the solution when it comes to this problem. I think moving forward, we need to ensure that it's established as a matter of urgency.
Which leadership we will be able to pick ourselves? And then we
oh, yes.
Thank you so much. I think we actually have run out of time. I'm so very interested in this conversation because of the potential for change that it actually, if we work well, then the change that can happen. But I do not want to be naive and say that people have not been putting in the work. That's been somewhere that we need to actually recognize, to see that this is actually the disconnect, and this is what actually we need to connect so that we can actually work cohesively as a body.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time and for your contribution. You've raised some very important issues and things that we have a lot to think about. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.